An interview, a roast, and a publishing list. This is basically the content of today's episode and why it has never been so important to realize one fundamental thing. In today's world of acknowledgement, of connection, of awareness, of networks, of validator nuts, in this world where everything is digitalized and everything gets televised and broadcasted, in this world, it has never been more important than today to really transmit your value and stand in for something that just belongs to you and you only, because we are all entertainment, we're all artists, and we're all somehow performers on this huge stage called the world. And therefore, welcome everybody to Open Class Doodles, episode 32. This is the COACHMC studio. This is the place where we help you actors, performers, creative heads, artists out there to really shape unique behavior deliveries and get recognized in the audition room, no matter what you're auditioning for or where the audition takes place. Because in the end, it's all about communicating ideas in a impactful, compelling, and authentic way. And without any further ado, I would say, let's jump into today's episode and let's discover where the most powerful entertainment actually comes from inside of ourselves, and why we need to foster it every day. So let's see what's cooking. Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Open Class Doodles. This is another episode full of intriguing news, interesting informations, and definitely maybe also some pieces of advice and inspiration that could help you to lead your performance, your creative, your artistic career into a better direction, to step up the game and to maximize out of your talent and really increase the range of your artistic delivery, because it is all about being adaptable, flexible, and being full of elasticity when we're talking about, kind of creating in this world, right? And what I want to, say without this very enigmatic intro is something, it's actually very easy. And in today's episode, we will try to kind of, solidify and crystallize my core message that is actually always the same, but I'm just basing my assumption and my theory, my thesis on these three pillars of, information that come to us today, that I kind of want to reflect upon, and what it means actually to create entertainment, and why we're doing this in the first place, and how we can break this also, up so everybody will understand what we're doing. Because yes, on one hand, we have screens and, we have, the camera is pointed at us and, in every second. But on the other hand, we also have our personal life, our intimacy, our relationship with ourselves. And we should never forget that that is the most important asset. That is the strongest weapon in the arsenal. That, kind of relationship will tell about all the relationships you will entertain in your life. So if you hold that relationship with your inner child, with your inner artist, with your inner creator, if you hold that relationship clean and focused and effective, and if you try to kind of protect that inner child at all times, you can translate it also as your fire bundle, as your artistic reservoir, however you want to call it, right? But you get the idea. There's something inside of you that is your core value proposition. That is your well. This is where you take your energy, your ideas, your inspiration, and also, the necessary motivation from. If that well is infested with too many, outside impressions, influences, and external currents, and if it's stained too much by the stuff that belongs to others, then you will never keep it authentic, and therefore lose maybe your navigation in this crazy, wacky business, in this great quest called life, in this beautiful adventure, sailing to the other part of the continents and seeing if the new world really kind of holds what it promises in the legends and in the myths and in the tales. What's up, everybody? Yes. I want to show you something to make this point. It's really interesting to me to see how the development is going on and what we're perceiving today. And this is a slightly different episode of Open Class Doodles, as you can tell right away. I'm not going to present the drawing to you today. It's not going to be about statistics or numbers per se. It's not going to be about historical information, right? I hope you enjoy the historic parts and pieces of Open Class Doodles with the other crazy dudes with Ryan, Roger, Athe, and Dragon Slayer commentaries. But that is more like an asset, of course, that is there just to kind of, keep you entertained, but also maybe to deliver new ideas and keep you a little bit distracted and, from the usual training and the daily work that I request from myself and also from you in order to improve and in order to get the success we all believe we deserve and show people what we're capable of, right? We can't achieve that by not exercising. So therefore, this is what I daily request. But sometimes we need other inspirations, distractions, and possibilities of escaping from that daily routine. Otherwise, that becomes boring, and therefore it's not anymore helping, right? So, I guess what I want to say is, when we proceed with whatever we have in mind, right? We should never forget that even if the success comes one day, even if the success is big or maybe even incredible one day, it's still you. So it doesn't matter if you impact 2 people in the audience or 2,000 or 2 million, right? It's always the same common denominator that produces that wave of information, of spectacle, of entertainment. And it really doesn't matter if it's just one person that gets inspired by it or a million people, right? Because in the end, it just matters that it is somehow effectful. And people get so intimidated, and also, of course, they are impressed by numbers. So if 1 million people, even here on YouTube, right now, how many people do we have? Like 6 people watching, 7 concurrent viewers, 7, 8. It's not a lot. Other channels do 800 or 8,000 people, and that's great. And I wish them all the best and a lot of success. And by the way, hey Serena, thank you so much for stopping by. Hey Rosita. Hey, Coach. Hello, Annie Boo. Hello, Lorenzo. That's me and the place to be. Also, a big shout out to the chat on Facebook and Instagram. Yes, you guys are active today as well. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's the success is reaching the people. And then other factors will usher in that will produce that magnifying effect, so more and more people can watch you. But today you have this. So it really depends on your consistency. Commitment lets you start. That is great. You have motivation. You have a burning desire. You have a wish for greatness. Beautiful. You're committed. Okay, but then you have to be also consistent and do it every day. This is how you foster your greatness. So let's take a look at something. Like I said, today is a slightly different episode. This is the list of, this is pretty much an article from Entertainment News, and they're telling us that for 2024, there's going to be a lot of remakes, right? They're going to present a lot of reboots, reshoots, cover stories, and a lot of remakes, and a lot of movies that already have been there kind of, get a sequel. And if you go through these articles of what's going on in entertainment America, it's kind of funny to me that, there is, we're talking about Suits, looks of Kelly Osbourne, Andy Cohen, who hangs out with John Mayer, all this stuff, there's nothing about like anything that, is concerned movies, art, or anything. Like, it's people, it's basically gossip, right? It's down to that. It's actually gossip, which is interesting. So then I looked around, is like, okay, let me find maybe something else about what today could go on. Maybe we take a look at the most anticipated movies of 2024. And again, I see a list of not really interesting or anything new. It's just, again, we're talking about Deadpool 3 and Venom 3 and Kung Fu Panda 4, Inside Out 2, and I don't know, like Twisters and Terrifier 3 and 4 and 2 and 6 and 7, and it's just numbers. And again, I don't see any creativity, nothing new, no originality, whether the stories nor the movies. And this is a publishing list about what should come out this year. This is a publishing list, and we're coming from very, very tough years, right? There has been the sea crisis from 2020 on, that it hit entertainment, then the strike. Now there's another strike on the horizon. The Teamsters are meeting as today, right? And trying to find a common solution there to get adequate wages and, of course, more benefits. And also, talking about everything that you get in terms of, later interest out of the movies. And so Hollywood now is just coming out of a period of insecurity, and it seems to go into a period where they want to be as secure as possible by just making the same stuff again and again. And I do understand that legitimate wish, but of course, as an impulse for the entire industry, that doesn't really help. So the publishing list looks pretty poorly, if you ask me. Of course, we have a lot of indie festivals, great cinema that is happening in the underground. And here in South Florida, I can tell you, we have a beautiful film festival type of culture all over the place in South Florida. We see, like, from Tampa over even Key West to Miami, West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, everywhere you see film festivals popping up and great people meeting up and great projections happening, networking events, really cool stuff. So definitely film festivals, and we're talking also about Sundance Festival that is moving away from the West and most likely will end up in Atlanta, right? Atlanta just is, of course, nominated in a short list for being the next producer of the Sundance Film Festival. Tribeca is already in the East, of course. And so we see that there is a certain movement as a reshaping, there's definitely a rearrangement of the business model. Hollywood is a bit running out of ideas. The big studios are not really producing that much of a profit, if you think about it, with all these flops all over the place. The streaming services, the platforms, and individual platforms are losing members. The big companies are firing a lot of people, thousands and thousands of employees. So I'm not saying this because I want to be a doomsday prophet or anything like that. I don't want to, I don't want to engage farm from the misery. Actually, to me, it's always an opportunity and never misery. Hello, good sir. Ryan Roger Ethe is here. Hey, coach. Hope all is well, he says. Preparing my show in under an hour. Have a great monologue. Thank you so much, sir. Maybe I will stop by your show. Who knows, right? Thank you so much for being here. Also, Johnny Fabrizio. I'm not saying this because I'm a doomsday prophet. Quite the opposite. When I see a list like this, and I just for the sake of it, these are the most anticipated movies of 2024. And I'm not saying this out of irony. I'm an actor myself. I would be the happiest person on this planet if I would wake up and see a completely different, most anticipated movies list of 2024. And I wish all the colleagues, all the Teamsters, all the producers, all the best for all these movies. I'm interested as an artist in itself that the universe in which I'm in, which is the creative entertainment universe, I just wish that universe could be even richer than it is today. And this is not just a standalone type of critique. We're seeing this on Saturday Night Hypnosis, on Friday Night Tides. We're seeing this on The Quartering, Josiah Rises. We have of course, we have the Ripperverse, we have Heels. I mean, we're all over the place. And these channels have incredible traction and following because they think all the same stuff. Everybody would be, hey, Vinsinger, thank you so much for stopping by. Everybody would be happy to see great movies, to see great entertainment, better music, better literature. Everybody would be totally fine with going to the movies back again. Me and my wife, Alessandra, we can't wait to go to the movies. We love going if it's not too late in the evening. Otherwise, we fall asleep because we're so tired because we work so much. No, but seriously, besides that, I mean, we really loved going to the movies. But the problem is there's just nothing that really makes you wonder, oh yeah, how is this? And it makes you really go to it and take the decision. It's all stuff that was there before. Like I said, here it's Variety with this article telling us, get ready for a ton of sequels. That's the first thing that we get to hear. Threequels and prequels. How exciting. Threequels. They already have a name for that. a prequels coming to the big screen in 2024, including some movies that were delayed due to the Hollywood strikes, like we mentioned. And also, if you want to check out a couple of our strike videos that we have on the channel, please be our guest. We talked about the Teamsters. We talked about also the SAG. We went on the picket line. We flew out to LA to see and, interview people right there on the fence to see what they were thinking. I think we shot a nice video. Definitely check it out. It's somewhere there. And so, although the actors and writers strikes may have pushed back production and release dates for some films, moviegoers will still have plenty of choices in the coming year. If superheroes and comic book movies are your thing, there's plenty of choices from Madame Web and Deadpool 3 to Venom 3 and Joker, Folie à deux. Oh yes, otherwise don't miss a couple of long-awaited biopics about beloved singers, Back to Black about Amy Winehouse, or One Love, One Heart, let's get together and feel alright. The Bob Marley story. Other anticipated sequels include Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. I don't know, it's like the 5th Ghostbusters movie at this point. Kung Fu Panda 4, Inside Out 2, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is probably like the 10th Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie. Notable filmmakers in the mix include George Miller with Furiosa and Mad Max Saga. I don't know why I'm doing this voice, by the way. Luca Guadagnino, great Luca Guadagnino. We know him, but it's actually my wife that knows him. With Challengers, and Minari director Lee Isaac Chung with Twisters. And horror fans will also have plenty of scars, including, so get ready for what will hopefully be a blockbuster year at the box office with these upcoming titles that all have been there before. Doesn't really look well, right? Even the article itself, if it's just, I don't know, does the writer of who was the guy here? Let's see who wrote this. Let's see if we find the name. Doesn't seem to provide the name here. Pat. The good Pat Saperstein. Caroline Brew, Jaden Thompson, and Jack Dunn. Okay. Yeah, they tried their best to make this kind of sounding exciting, or, again, it's just, to me, this is a sign. And we're talking about this very often. And as a concept, right? If you say it out loud, create your own entertainment. It's super vague, right? It's very, it's like a cloudy, very, just big and very ethereal type of expression to say, hey, create your own entertainment. Where it's maybe you could say, find your own story. And this is by no means some sort of Simon Sinek type of talk, right? Where we say, hey, find your own purpose, find your why. Deep down inside of you, you have what you're burning for. Yes, maybe that is the case. But even if not, it means that if we look at what is coming to us this year and probably next year and in the year after that, we're seeing a lot of soup, right? That is just being warmed up and just warmed up. And people will get enough of this. And they already have enough of this. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all these social media networks that are exploding, right? Full of followers and everything. They're the best, example that demonstrate that this entertainment world as we know it is defined by us now, not by them anymore. They try to cater programs and shows to us, and some of them are good and we like, and then we watch them, but definitely the relationship to entertainment has changed, to the entertainment world. Earlier in the days, back in the days, it was this glittering, admirable world that everybody somehow wanted to be in, that was so attractive to so many people. Because it was the land of dreams somehow, right? It's Hollywood, right? You know what Hollywood means? It's the holy wood. The holy wood is the oak wood. It's the oak tree, right? And the oak tree was used by whom? It was used by the Druids. the druids are the masters of creating these potions and liquids, right? They are the witches and shamans and magicians and wizards that we see in all these Disney movies from the 50s and 60s. And Merlin, Excalibur, Fantasia, right? We have them. And also Gandalf, of course. Tolkien is somehow very close to that type of idea and culture as well. And we see it reflecting there. And so back then, entertainment world was that fantasy world, that very exciting, glittering, abstract universe. And then through social media, of course, these stars have become more and more relatable, more personal. We connected to them. We are literally connected to them. We can sometimes even write the messages. And that, you know, took away a lot of the magic. But besides the magic, a lot of shady stuff and very weird and evil stuff that had also happened there, like anywhere in the world, right? I'm not accusing or blaming them of being any different than the rest of the world. Maybe that's the best thing that we can take away from that. I'm an actor myself. I define myself as an actor and as an acting coach, right? This is my life. This is how I invest my energy. This is my vocation. This is my inner calling. But nonetheless, or because of that, you know, I want to see a universe where acting can flourish again, stories can flourish again, ideas can flourish again. Right now, and this is going hand in hand with the bad numbers that Hollywood is writing right now, I see a stagnation of fantasy and more like an inboxing type of event with every movie. Everything needs to be inside of a box, and it can't be roaming free and can't be crazy and it can't be explorative. It seems like there are certain boundaries that can't be overstepped anymore, right? There's like this line in the sand, and all of a sudden this imaginary line has become like a dome that closes off the environment. And therefore, if you create such biospheres, and this is exactly what happened in the last years, in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 decades. It has always been, Hollywood has always been a biosphere, but it has increasingly with, of course, the agenda preaching and the idealism, also the hypocrisy that is surrounding all these preaching type of monologues and these, virtue signaling type of behavior that nobody's interested in. Give us the entertainment, give us the culture, give us the great stories, give us characters to think about, give us knowledge and adventure and inspiration, give us love, lust, and comedy. I mean, my wife and I, Alessandra and I, we're watching Beverly Hills 90210, right? 90210, because this is stuff, these are stories, these are relatable, they're cute in the way they're acted, they have charm, they have, like, this is what we watch. Because there's nothing else that we find, really attractive. Yeah, somehow, there are sometimes, Jeff Daniels right now is a fall man, or something like a man in full, something like that. This short series, yeah, interesting. Yeah, these mini series are like stretched out movies. Okay, they have something, but not all of them work. I mean, this can't be all, because we see what the result is, and believe me, it's correlated. If you have bad entertainment, or entertainment that is boxed in, that is most likely the product of a society that is boxed in. And so in the 60s, we had great entertainment that was, spawning out in all directions, because you had a society that was spawning out in all directions. And right now we have quite the opposite. We have some sort of a black hole that sucks in everything that is creative and beautiful, like in those, Looney Tunes type of, the old cartoons with Bugs Bunny, where, Bugs eats all the carrots and kind of sucks them all in into the soil. This is what we're seeing today. So why am I telling you this, guys? Because I stumbled over this roast also the other day from Dana White on the Tom Brady show, and you think, wait a second, but I want to show you this.
Here, and you guys give me 60 seconds.
Right, so Dana White was at this at the Netflix event, Tom Brady, his comedy show, The Roast, where he gets roasted by all sorts of comedians, entertainers, and celebrities, and Netflix kind of organized all that. It's a super show, and it also caused a lot of backlash in the media, because Kim Kardashian was booed out, and sure enough, that was edited out of the final version that we now get to see on Netflix. So there was a bit of controversy there. But Dana White, I think, had the funniest bit. And Dana White, you can hate him because you're afraid of his authenticity, of his, the way he just says the truth. He just tells whatever he thinks, right? And so you can love him or hate him, but it's quite interesting what he did.
My name is Dana. Is that not trans enough for you liberal fucks?
So there are roasts and roasts, right? And you can see, look at his face. Look at his face. He means that, right? This is Dana White. He means that. And so there's inside of the industry itself, right? There are many currents, of course, and some of them are conflicting with each other, of course. But right now, we're seeing a situation where the studios have created this ring around their actors that they prefer, and this elite of actors get to tell pretty much all the stories, and are shooting all these movies with, not all of them, but most of them have this, there's sometimes, they somehow all reflect an agenda to some sort of degree or level, right? And as an acting coach, as an actor, as an artist, it's, first of all, we've studied this in history. Think about the socialist artists, the communist artists, the fascist artists that were used to kind of, for propaganda reason. If you look at that art, yes, okay, the execution is nice and beautiful, but don't forget, art needs not only to be beautiful, but also it needs to convey an idea. And so when art gets basically just instrumentalized to serve as a magnifying lens for any type of political agenda, it loses its function, and it loses also its healing power. And I mean that seriously, even if that sounds a bit woo-wee, but yeah, I do believe that art heals hearts. Yeah, because great art heals you. Great art inspires you. Great art gives you something, and sometimes you can't even explain what it is that you just received there. It's art, it's the shapes, it's the colors, but it's also the ideas that are getting conveyed, whether that's a building, a poster, a painting, a show, a movie, a podcast, whatever it is, right? Art can be that. And when you receive that, that is a unique moment that you will not forget that easily, and somehow subconsciously maybe even carry it till the rest of your days. So one moment literally can change your life. As an artist, I can tell you, and this is like real talk, when I lived in Rome, Piazza del Popolo, this huge, wonderful, incredible square where actually the old city of Rome in the eastern part of Rome starts, where Via Flaminia, it's hundreds of miles long, is a road. It was built by the Romans in a straight line and kind of leads to this square in where the old city of Rome starts. And before you actually step on that huge place that is, of course, adorned in the center and its nucleus by an Egyptian obelisk, because the whole thing is a giant sundial. But before you actually step on that monumental place, on the left, there's a little church, like really a tiny church. You go in there, and with a euro coin, that's like, the currency there in Italy. If you go to the left navel till the end of that corridor, and at the end of that corridor, there's a little box, and you put that euro, that $1 in there, and you press the red button. There's a little spot that goes on, and it sheds light on a 6 foot tall canvas painted by Caravaggio. And Martin Scorsese used to hang out there days and endless hours just studying that one painting. Because that painting, I can tell you, it's absolutely flabbergasting. And I could pull up the picture and show you, but I want you to travel to Rome and observe what I observed back then. And when you see art like that, that changes you fundamentally. And when we extract art out of the entertainment context and just place agenda or instructionalism or technicalities or transactionalism in there, then we suck out all the life, all the meaning, all the beauty out of that. And therefore, the numbers will be bad. Nobody wants to watch that. And this is exactly what we're experiencing. I'm not saying this is good or bad or evil or some sort of a conspiracy theory. It's like, this is what we're experiencing. These are the facts. Wherever this is coming from, well, we can debate about that. There are certainly nefarious and sinister, backdrops to this. But I feel like most of the people that are, kind of the labor force of that agenda that is on the front line, that is actually executing the agenda and working on these products and, productions, they don't really know where this is coming from. Maybe they assume it, but most of them don't care. They just do the work. They want to make ends meet. They want to, they want to do a living. And this is great and absolutely legitimate. So they're not the bad guys. Nobody's a bad guy besides maybe the guys who are projecting all this. But in the end, I think it's just part of any culture that you have times where darkness is a bit more diffused and imperative, and where you have light that is shining more bright and it is more distributing, where you have a bit more optimism and a bit more beautiful stories. And I think we're always children of our time, right? We're always kids of our age, and that means, yes, we see it. We see people that are deconstructed from their core values, because they are, they get dictated their opinion on a daily basis by a device that they hold in the palm of their hands, and therefore all their focus is redirected to this little screen, to this little world, and they don't perceive 99.9% of the other world. And yes, this might sound also like hypocrisy, right? Because I'm streaming on a platform that is, of course, redirected to these devices. But first of all, I'm just putting out ideas here, right? I'm not telling anyone to consume my entertainment, or I'm not asking for money or anything else, right? I'm just putting this out there as an idea. And if people get inspired by it, all the better. And I'm not asking you to watch this on your cell phone. You can watch this from the comfort of your home and take notes, and also write some comments and get in contact with me through my website, readytoperform.com. And we could set up like a nice discussion, a conversation where your creativity needs to go, what you want to do with your art. And maybe, we discover we're a great match for each other, and then we could like kick off a collaboration, a creative collaboration after this discovery session with no strings attached first, and then through a nice program, through a course where I kind of navigate you through the process of learning the most important skills. The most important skills are always, how do I assess it? How do I speak it out? And how do I put it into action? And how I do sustain all these three factors with the belief and with the courage, because these are two separate things. Belief comes from the heart and is truly important. Le cœur, courage. Courage, this is something noble. It's a great spirit. If you have courage, right? There is something pure about that idea of having spirit. But it's not belief. It's not faith. Because belief comes from recognizing that something works, and therefore reinforcing your belief, the confidence that you can reproduce it again and again, and maybe even improve it. So belief comes from recognizing the pattern. It's in our brain. It's a mental state. And courage and that noble spirit comes from our heart, because it's le cœur, it's courage. And once our courage, our bravery comes together with our technicality, with our belief, the confidence that will be born out of that, duality, out of that holy fusion, that will give birth to finally expressing it, to finally channeling it into our physicality and being in the moment, whatever we do. Because look at all the religions, all the sacred texts, all the meditation books, whatever. In the end, it's all boiling down. It's all coming down to focus. They all want you just to focus. Now, funny enough, all these companies, they produce something that distracts you all the time. I wonder why that is. And what else distracts you all the time? You got it. Controversy. So these products that have been produced for, let's say, the last 25 years, because it's 1999, this is where it started. So these last 25 years, they have done everything, right? All these studios have done everything what they were capable of to give us content that made us actually angry and sad and depressed. And that, of course, just spawned off a discussion, a controversy that just ignited more and more and more talk and more discussion and more hate and more anger, more pressure. And it's beautiful because all that negative stuff does what? It keeps our mind busy. Ding dong! Welcome to This Is How the System Works. And hey, once you're here, why don't you smash the like button? Again, why is he saying this? Why is he doing this? Why is Dana White going there and kind of, roasting them? And you could say, hey, well, you know what? This is nothing special. It's a Tom Brady roast, so he roasts the people, right?
Liberal fucks.
No, I think he said that for another reason. He said it that to, kind of setting some boundaries. Because if you look at other podcasts and other interviews he did, right, the way he pushed back on the whole agenda when he was asked about it, because Sean Strickland, kind of released kind of controversial, inflammatory, statements after being asked by a Canadian reporter before his fight what he thought about all these laws and regulations. And he's always showed that he would stand with his word. And this is what I think is the most important thing to take out of his type of appearance, because it distinguished itself from all the other appearances that night. There were some funny ones. I mean, Kim Kardashian was booed out, like brutally. And Kevin Hart did his job. It was really funny. But the way, some roasts were really, you could feel that they were like really meant, right? More than usually. And I think there was a big sentiment in the room that is growing and growing, that came from a place, and now it's getting more and more a sentiment that reflected more what Dana White was thinking rather than what Giselle Bündchen and all the other people were thinking. And it's interesting because, again, of course, this is a clash and it keeps them occupied, it distracts them. But, even in focus, you have to realize sometimes what you have to get rid of in order to come back to your original story. And this is how I want to segue with this into the piece that I find in today's show the most precious, the most valuable. Because I showed you these two things beforehand just to make a point and to get there a bit emotionally and also just from the visceral level, what is this show today about? So you've seen the publishing list. It looks very, very poor, right? There's no idea, no originality. Yes, maybe inside of the movies, of course. Like, again, it's not to judge. It's just to paint a picture of the ambience of what right now is the theme and what we have to fight against. Then I showed you what is Tom Brady. Why do I pick Tom Brady? Because he's probably the next president of the United States, right? There are already certain currents in the United States that kind of see him in that position. So he's a very, very powerful player. And there's also talk in the background why they picked him and why they televised his, show in this way. And it's very interesting. Maybe we will, kind of dive deeper into this rabbit hole. Another episode. It really takes away from what today's message I feel is. So therefore, but yeah, definitely there are many aspects to this roast, right? It's not something that just coincidentally kind of let's do a Tom Brady roast. No. I think there was a lot of thinking and made there, and why they're putting this guy right now in front. Also, you see him right now on any ad, and right, there is a certain reason for that, and that's super interesting also to follow and to kind of kind of keep an eye on that. But he stands for a certain individual in the United States. He stands for a certain belief system, for a certain value system, right? And a lot of interviews, Tom Brady. You can think of him what you want, right? But he's truly like one of the great players. If you reached certain levels in all the teams you play, and granted, of course, these teams were built around him, I get it. But of course, this is what this is what happens with star players. I think that argument to make that kind of to de-evaluate or kind of deconstruct the greatness of his work or of his achievements, and I'm not a big personal fan. I'm just saying this objectively, right? It's silly. We do that to kind of minimize the value of someone else in order to not realize or to not make, put into practice what that person showed us needs to be done in order to achieve that type of success, right? Because these people, yes, they get used as commercial wagons and sometimes they get slaughtered by ads and all that. But that just shows us like that theoretically, right, everyone can reach these levels if you stay consistent at it. So I think there's definitely a positive takeaway from the achievements of athletes, of actors, of artists, and looking at these biographies and learning from them, of course, and all sorts of people. I do this basically every day because I believe there's always like an interesting note that you can take away, even from your enemies, or sometimes even more so from your enemies. But when you look at Tom Brady, you look at a certain cluster of values that represents a big average in the United States. And what I want to say with this, and why I highlighted this roast and the intervention of Dana White when talking about the show after this publishing list, is because that stands for all the people that somehow in the United States are not satisfied, that don't know what the future is going to bring, and that are maybe even scared of the coming days, and feel that frustration and mounting up, and that critical mass sometimes can go into a very wrong direction. And it doesn't always needs to be like violent. I'm not talking about like the extreme cases, even though, yes, of course, there sometimes are. If you are suppressing your core value proposition, if you're ignoring the very person you are over time, that's gonna, it's not gonna pay out nicely for you. That's for sure, right? But I'm not talking about that. It's just the way we treat ourselves and respect ourselves and our inner calling. This is the way we also produce the material then. And if we don't believe in what we produce, then of course it's not going to be very good, right? It's just going to be transactional. So why not making it great right from the start, right? Great because it's animated by your spirit. And when you're thinking about the future, don't get, again, distracted by the voices. Don't get distracted by the noise. Don't get distracted by the false alarms and the false signaling, whether it's on one or the other spectrum, on the end of whatever spectrum. It doesn't matter. There is no spectrum. There's you. There is the belief, there is the truth, and there is the work that you can put in every day. And if you do that, everything is going to be fucking great. Right? Don't get distracted by all this noise. Again, they want your brain to be occupied with nonsense so you can figure out the great stuff for yourself and become independent, free, and very strong and powerful. To put it in a nutshell, basically. And the next masterclass, by the way, it's going to happen on May 25th. And it's going to be about the improv, the art of improv. Yes, I know it's kind of a hard break here, but before I introduce my last section of today's topic, I wanted to have a little commercial break for you guys. So I hope you're enjoying today's monologue, like Ryan Roger Arthur would say. And before that, I just wanted to tell you, down there in the description, there's a link for Eventbrite. And you can get some tickets for my masterclass about the improv art. And why is the improv art important? Because basically it's not just for us actors, but for us human beings, the art of surviving, right? To improvise, it means to survive and to thrive. So it's not just for actors, but most likely actors will appreciate it, a lot, because on set, when you're rehearsing, when you're auditioning, when you are even negotiating your wage, improv, picking up on something, understanding how, energies work and kind of responding on the moment, being fast, having a beat, having an idea, bringing the discussion, the topic into a certain direction, or just, kind of being able to switch from one emotional state to the other. All these things are super, super important for us actors, performers. And so therefore, please register for the masterclass. And also stop by. Once you register, also stop by, right? Because it's really important that we can plan ahead. And if we see 40 registrations, we think, all right, at least 10 people will show up. So please make sure to stop by our masterclass once you registered, and also to like and subscribe to the channel. Just like the channel, guys, it gives us a lot of support and makes sure YouTube knows that you are kind of cherishing and valuing this content. It gives us a little motivational boost as well. And it helps you also to see in the future stuff that you deem cool and important, because if the algorithm realizes that you like our show, it's gonna, advise you to, and it's gonna give you some recommendations for other shows as well that you might have not discovered yet. So this is a great way also to discovering future great entertainment that will help you by just leaving a like. Isn't that incredible? I find it astonishing. So after this little commercial break, let's get to the third knowledge block of today. And I want to talk about an interview that I just recently saw that really impressed me. I liked it a lot. It's Jordan B. Peterson interviewing Adrian Grenier, who was the star of the show Entourage, produced by Mark Wahlberg a lot of years ago. And he played this very famous celebrity on the show, and he became famous and a real celebrity through the show. So having experienced something on a very, of course, on a very much reduced scale myself, I was just curious what he was going to say. And I was completely surprised, like positively surprised, that it turned out to be a very insightful, very honest, and very cool conversation. I can't describe it differently. That Jordan B. Peterson and Adrian Grenier entertained, where a lot of things were discussed in a very kind of breezy but still profound way that I found super, super interesting, where I thought, wow, first of all, I can relate to that. And second of all, this is perfectly also fitting into today's landscape of Hollywood and how the whole business has evolved. And again, please, let's not go into the direction of, oh yeah, I want to, it's not me preaching or anything, or it's about saying how somebody should behave once you get famous or all that. I think this interview illustrates in a very, very interesting and profound way, and at the same time also easy to understand without being too artificial or artificially sophisticated. It's very hand to hand what you experience when you go through that famedom, and when people recognize you on the street, and when photographers and journalists and paparazzi are stalking you, and when people want to hang out with you just because you're in the news, you're a celebrity, and when you have to start to kind of build in some filter systems in your own awareness to understand who you can trust and all that, and who really is hanging out with you because you're famous, and who's really like genuinely interested in the person and the human being that you are. So all these things I experienced in him as well. But he goes in a different direction in this video, and it was a perfect match to the topic today. So Jordan B. Peterson, I think he needs no like real introduction. You know him, he's a behavioral psychologist. He became famous for, being rebellious at his campus. But, it's a fascinating, very eclectic type of person who is entertaining and very insightful, very smart. Of course, I read his books, and there's a lot of good stuff that I can take away from it. And it's not about advocating for someone. I thought it was also interesting because, of course, he was interviewing him, and a psychologist behavior psychologist interviewing a narcissist, that is just the holy grail of entertainment. So right off the bat, there was in this conversation, what I found really interesting about Adrian is that, you know, that he grew up pretty roughly in New York without a father. Winsinger, half interesting. Speaking of powerful entertainment, half interesting. We got to make sure they don't get promoted and marketed on basis of race, gender, politics, owing the libs, etc. Yes, of course. Okay, this is the thread. Interesting. They need to be promoted and marketed on the basis of idea, concept, and how it's made. Yes, absolutely, Winsinger. You're saying, now I got it. So Winsinger is saying, so first, interesting. Speaking of powerful entertainment, we got to make sure they don't get promoted and marketed on basis of race, gender, political affiliation, owning the libs, etc., etc. Absolutely. That's not a way of getting into this business, right? Because you will be always biased. You will always search out for that. And this is the only thing you can point to. And therefore, it's going to be a monoculture, right? Like a monotheistic culture in its baddest way, because that only reflects what is inside, what is allowed inside of that cult, of that culture. And therefore, it never will be entertaining. And it will never be catering to a broader spectrum. It will never be in a real product that somehow, you know, reflects values, because it only stands for a certain standard. And if you are not appropriately fit for that standard, then whether you're against that, right, immediately you're an enemy of that, or you need to be re-educated in order to understand the art now. And this is what is happening also in museums nowadays and in theater plays that nobody understands anymore. And it's become this bizarre type of ritual where people think, oh yeah, cool, the theater explains, oh, right, the screenplay department or the author itself comes down. Like, if you need an author to come down to the theater to explain to the audience what the play was actually about because nobody understood what the content was, that's not a good thing, right? Of course, a Q&A or a constructive round or like a critique round or something like that is like a cool like way of kind of bringing culture together and bringing the theater closer to its audience and to the people. But if you need an author to explain what the play was about, because it's so abstract and so sophisticated and just targeted at that little universe that no one is in except the exclusive little elite, then there is something wrong with your entertainment and not with the perception of the audience. And this is also what we're talking about on Saturday Night Hypnosis, every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? Where it's okay if you really have a genuine a genuine need to explore a certain topic because of personal experiences, because of something that you read or something that inspired you, by all means do that. There is, but don't flip it around and tell then everybody else who doesn't seem to be interested in what you're doing that they don't understand how the world works just because they're not appreciating your agenda-driven entertainment. That is just absolutely maniacal. That is evil. Right, that is really delusional. And the thing is, and what Adrian Grenier perfectly illustrates in this interview, what also happened to me is when you're in the industry and you're working every day and you're making money, everything is accessible, you have power and authority and things are easier in daily life sometimes also, you think that is a perpetual state. And also very, very interestingly, similar to Adrian, I never went into entertainment industry first because I wanted money or fame. That was really not my interest. Absolutely, 100% real talk. I just wanted to show my art. I'm a narcissist, I'm not a saint, right? It's not that I went in because I'm such a good patron of the arts. This is not my mission. I'm a narcissist. I like to be seen and perceived, and I want a pat on the shoulder, a pat on the back, and I want to hear people what they think of me and if they liked what I did. And I always run over to Alessandra, my wife. It's like, hey, what do you think of this drawing? What do you think of this idea? What do you think of that? Right? We are always, this is what we want. Of course, the acknowledgement is important because that drives the inner competition rate higher, and that makes you better. And so therefore, I improve through my narcissism. If I kind of establish a healthy relationship with my inner narcissist, my narcissism can actually help me to perform better, right? just that, because it gives me an additional motive, an additional reason to improve, to get up, to do the stuff that is necessary. Till a certain point, that narcissist is a helper. But if you exaggerate, if you go into the land of self-reflection, like Narcissus in Greek mythology, you just look at the reflection of the lake and you're just fascinated by the reflection and you don't perceive anything else, then of course everything else becomes the enemy. And that is a psychotic state of mind that has nothing to do with art anymore. So you, of course, to stay in that, what I was trying to say is to stay in that state where everything seems accessible. Everybody's saying yes, there is no rejection anymore. You have to understand, as an artist, when you start, there's only rejection. And then all of a sudden you become a star, you have a breakthrough hit, right? At the end of pilot season, you get booked, or some network believed in you because the budget was completely drained out and it just had money for nobody and they couldn't hire a star anymore. So they hired you instead because you were the second next best audition, right? This is sometimes true. And through that, you get your shot and you use it. By all means, you did a great job. Now all of a sudden you're a star. And you have to kind of, swing the pendulum into the other direction. Nobody came in, or at least I don't believe most of the people who are really artists come to the business because they want to make money. It's because they want to express their art, because they are truly interested in seeing what people think of them and their performance. But once everything is accessible, of course, you want to continue. Right, so all of your ideals for a certain amount of time, they go overboard, and then it's about you, how to navigate back to the old you and not to the new you that you somehow also have become. And he talks about all that. Very fascinating talk. And this is perfectly also latching into what you say, Winsinger, which reminds me that I just want to continue your thread. Instead, they need to be promoted and marketed on the basis of idea, concept, and how it's made. Exactly. Because the way it's fabricated, the way it's executed, the way it is delivered then by the skills, how the skills fabricated that is my point of measurement. It's not my individual assessment. That is no point of measurement. So to turn an individual subjective assessment into a collective assessment, you have to change what? You have to change the culture, you have to change the laws, you have to change the institutions and the way we perceive it in the media, right? The way the average person is perceiving it. And this is exactly what they did. It's picture book, because they didn't want all this to avoid the fatigue, the effort, the work, the labor, the sweat, the blood, the tears, right? To just put in the work and create on the basis of ideas, of concepts, and of quality, and of the production in itself. Absolutely, like Winsinger is saying, because they're afraid of that. Because I call them they identify themselves so hard with the product that if you don't like the product, then you don't like them. Yes, that happens to actors, of course. But you need to kind of separate that. You need to learn how to separate that in the business. By the way, we teach that over here at the COACHMC studio. Just saying, you can always hit me up through readytoperform.com. Just check me out. Let's have an adventure discovery session, and if we're a great match, let's start working together. And I can show you how you can separate your character from yourself and not identifying with the emotions of the character all the time. Because I can tell you, from 18 years of set experience in a row, basically, just with minor exceptions. They weren't minor. That was ironic. I had some big breaks in between, but overall, I stayed 18 years with a show. And when I was working, I was always working as a lead, so Monday to Friday. So the experience is, if you don't want to identify with your character's feelings, by all means, I can only encourage you to do so, right? Separate that carefully, because all of a sudden you become otherwise the character, and he will suck you in, because it's easy, right? Because it's the path of least resistance for your brain. Just stay in the character. Don't go out of your way, right? Just to return to the old Lorenzo. Stay the character. No, that's, of course, the seduction is there. And this is, I think, also what Adrian is talking about in this interview.
Into the chaos of New York. And that's where I spent the rest of my life, from about 4 to about 40, 42.
What sort of school did you go to?
The thing that he talks about is that he went from this nobody to everybody to sort of exiting the system again. And he learned that, of course, the hard way, by in a very traumatic way, being dumped by the girl he was dating back then, he was in love with. And he was going into this, oblivional state, right? Kind of where everything was dark and where he wasn't realizing who he was anymore. And yes, that's true, right? Once you get sucked in by the industry, you become famous, everything becomes accessible, and you have money and everything, you start becoming just had and growing, right? You become only this reactional being, and you kind of leave out the emotions. And this is what he's also talking about.
Yeah. So, but I was resistant to it. I guess I did not want to be someone else's pawn. I didn't want to be someone, just like a sort of a vapid shell for someone else to use for their story.
Yes, and that's interesting. If you are coming to a point where you realize that you don't want to be that person anymore, right? Whether that's a traumatic experience or not, and maybe it's just you realizing that you're going into the wrong direction. I wish all the people out there to kind of, when you are, on the verge of whether breaking through or breaking up with yourself, it's always the same point of being in that delusional state. And how do we come back to us? How do we come back to our entertainment? How do we come back to our core? Can I ask us the powerful questions that would lead us back? Now, first of all, we shouldn't be afraid of asking them. We should go out to the people that we love, that we cherish, that we trust, and ask them right away, what do you think about me? What is wrong about myself or my entertainment? What do you think I do have the most issues with? What is it that I need to hear from you right now in order to proceed into the right direction? And I think it is like what we are all wanting is, of course, that acknowledgement. And sometimes indulging in that too much, right, can be a positive experience, because I think you need to go there somehow. As an artist, I think you need to experience both the starvation, right, the deprivation and the scarcity of being an artist in the beginning when nobody knows you, and also the bigotry, the overabundance, and the exaggeration once you are a star, right? You need to go in both directions. And this is what he describes in a very interesting way, because when you have ideals, right, in the beginning, that gives you the necessary courage and also the motivation to get to the top. And then you get to the top, and all of a sudden, of course, you forget all the ideals that brought you there. And now all of a sudden you have new aspirations and new ideas, and maybe your ideals changed or you changed. And in the end, I think that is a necessary part of the quest. And if we know this already, if we can just program that into our quest, into our navigator, into our Google Maps, into our artistic navigation satellite-based system, then we know we shouldn't be so surprised or taking we should already put in some measurements beforehand to understand, hey, what is it that makes me actually me? What is it? Is it my interest, my friends? And if you don't know what makes you, then meditate on that. That's already a beautiful quest to kind of journal that, right? Record yourself while you're reflecting on that. Like, get there through meditation, get there through rituals, get there through, also depraving yourself sometimes maybe from sweets or alcohol, right? Do some fastings, intermittent fastings, whatever gets you there to the illumination of the moment. Get there and kind of realize, hey, what is it that makes you you, right? To me, it's art, it's books. Of course, it's my love, my beautiful wife, it's my cat, it's also, you know, the people that I teach. But if I wouldn't have my job, right, that would be pretty much it. My art. I love to kind of take long walks with Alessandra, talk about life and everything that satisfies me completely. Cooking, having the ability to cook, to, you know, prepare different, you know, recipes and have different taste sensors activated. That is the beautiful stuff. That makes me me. So when you get back to the accessibility of yourself, we're coming also back to where we started this beautiful monologue today, is like in the end, you have to separate both entities. The performing entity, that is beautiful, important, manifold, truly valuable, super, but also to your personal mode, to you mode. And that you mode can be just consisting of a couple of elements. It doesn't need to be so grand and anything, but that always should be cherished. That always should be protected. That always should be defended also in terms of value. You should never cross the line. Like Adrian also tells in this interview, he had to cross the line sometimes, and then he felt like, this is not me. This is not what I want to do. This is not who I want to be. And in the end, I think what he's doing, and he talks about this also at the beginning of this interview, that he had just this, before he was actually hired by Mark Wahlberg for the show Entourage, he was in Cuba literally with his last $1,000 because he wanted to shoot that documentary. And now he's coming back to shooting that documentary, to this documentary called Earth Speed, you know, stories from the land, where he's, you know, traveling and shooting with all these people.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So that's a plan. And that's a real possibility?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Well, look, that's...
No, that was the end of the show. I just missed, wait, I want to give you that because it really looked beautiful. I had it on the timestamp. Now, you know, of course, he finished this documentary, and now he's coming back to who he was in the beginning before he entered Entourage. And that took him also 10 years to be there, another couple of years to digest that he was there. And now he's coming back to the person that he was in the very beginning, before he started becoming famous. Now he's shooting his movies, he's creating his art, and he's totally fine with that. He experienced the incredible access, the money, the drugs, the women, everything. And he said, all right, okay, I've done a couple of things here. I've experienced it. I've crossed the line. This is definitely not me. I've realized that I became just as logically and absolutely driven, you know, just from one feeling to the other, but that wasn't me. I wasn't really feeling me anymore. And after that detoxification period, when he came clean with himself, when he kind of let go of all the distractions, he focused back on what makes him happy. And then out of that, he created new products. And now he has a new audience and a new voice and a completely different standing in entertainment. So coming from the no originality of the publishing list of 2024 for Hollywood to the internal currents that are revolting against the paradigm that is right now driving Hollywood and world entertainment, up to a single personal, very individual story that tells us, hey, we have the power. We tell our stories. If we believe in them and we go through them and we stick 100% with our values and products, people will perceive them. It's not about the quantity. It's about telling them and being okay with who you are. That is the power of being a human being, and not of accessing and having bizarre behavior, caprioles, and being capricious all the time and desiring more and more and more on a steady basis and devouring yourself and your spirit in the process, because in the end, then you're incinerating your soul by doing so. And you shouldn't do that, because this is on this planet, maybe 100 years we can live. But on the other planets and out there in the universe, infinity and beyond, right? We will be a part of eternity. And I want to enjoy that ride, right? I'm enjoying this one already, but being projected for the way longer one. And this is what we should always strive for. There's nothing bad, and we shouldn't be judged by losing the way. But by knowing that we lost the way and continuing in that, then of course we should ask if we are still on, you know, on the positive side of things, if we're still sane, right? Because we should get back to the original road if we know that we've deviated, right? If we know if we're continuously trying to pursue something pure and in a land that is infested by distraction, and then of course we know what the outcome will be. It's a hypocritical behavior. So we should get back to what we feel in tune with ourselves, and everything that will come out of that place would just be great, and then will lead also to future prospects and appreciating our value, nothing else. And I wish you a lot of fun with that in the process as well, creative community. Thank you so much for stopping by, for appreciating this monologue today. See you next Tuesday with the next Open Class Doodles with Ryan, Roger, Athe, and Dragon Slayer commentaries, where we shed light into the mysteries of the past. You can catch me on Saturday Night Hypnosis this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Hypnotics YouTube channel. Definitely watch out for readytoperform.com if you need tips, advice, career strategy, audits, whatever it is. Just give us a shout out there, and we will get in touch. Be part of the next masterclass. We will give you the exact dates with the next shows. Follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, as well on TikTok. We have the Movie Maker Miami Telegram group where we inform you about the upcoming events, networkings, editions, everything that's really like interesting in the South Florida area, more of course focused on Miami, will be there. So definitely follow us there for the latest updates, news, and events. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, guys. It goes such a long way to support our endeavors, and it shows also to the algorithm what you value and cherish. And we see us next time with a beautiful new episode of Open Class Doodles. And I think now you're ready to perform.